Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos, and today I'm just be officially updating you on some more latest news. So some more additional information has updated in regards to Alexis Sanchez, as I have been reading recent reports up today. So reportedly we do know that reports came out, was it earlier on this week, saying that Roma had held talks with Manchester United about, the prospect of taking Alexis Sanchez out on loan. But obviously, but due to his substantial wages he's on, I did say, this could be the stumbling block, of Alexis Sanchez, leaving Manchester United, because obviously Sanchez is the highest paid player at the club. Obviously, he's the highest paid player in the Premier League. Obviously, Sanchez is on £400,000 a week, potentially rising up to 500 grand a week, based on the image rights and the bonuses. But now, reportedly, Ole Gunnar Solsjaker's overarching view on the Sanchez situation, that he does want Alexis Sanchez out of the football club, and reportedly, if Sanchez is to remain at Manchester United, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has threatened, to put him as threatened to make him train with the Manchester United under-23 reserve team, obviously, to force him out of the football club and that. But I think reportedly, if we can get, Sanchez a move away from Manchester United, reportedly we are willing to pay the majority of his substantial wages and that. I think, the only way we can probably, get rid of Sanchez is probably, putting him out on a long season loan, because I do believe, we'll find it very, very difficult, of course, to get rid of Alexis Sanchez permanently, but throughout the course of the summer anyway, we've been trying to get rid of Alexis Sanchez, but I did say due to substantial wages, obviously, it's going to be very, very difficult to currently offload the players. So reporting now, we are willing, Solskjaer is willing to make him train with the under-23 reserves, of course, if he is to remain at the football club. Obviously, Sanchez has not played this season yet. Obviously, he didn't play, throughout pre-season. Well, he wasn't even part of the squad, throughout pre-season, because I do believe, Sanchez had been, playing on Copa America duty, with Chile and all that. He'd been playing on Copa America duty with Chile. Obviously, he's regaining his fitness, is Alexis Sanchez, and I think he did sustain an injury, whilst he was on Copa America duty with Chile. So we do know that Alexis Sanchez has been below on his fitness, and I think, he should be, okay by the Wolves game. But I think, anyway, probably needs to get rid of Alexis Sanchez. Obviously, he's been very, very disappointing, since his arrival from Arsenal back in January 2018. Obviously, we got him as part of a swap deal of Mkhitaryan going to Arsenal, but Alexis Sanchez has not exceeded expectation levels at Manchester United, as we all thought he would have done, because obviously he did have 4 good years at Arsenal before he came to Manchester United. He also even played under Pep Guardiola's guidance, when he was younger at Barcelona, but he did really, really well, but he just hasn't replicated any of this form at Manchester United. Obviously, since his arrival, he's made 45 appearances in all competitions and only managed 5 goals. So I don't think Alexis Sanchez is part of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first team plans for this season and that. So I do believe, we need to get rid of him, because obviously, it'll help us free up our wage bill even more. Obviously, we do know since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, 4 players have departed the football club. Obviously, it got confirmed that Romelu Lukaku had left there last week. Obviously, that was good business from the club, because, we generated a substantial amount from Romelu Lukaku's departure. We generated basically, well, we recouped, what we basically, paid him from Everton a couple of years ago. Obviously, Valencia left at the end of last season after he served 10 years at Manchester United. Obviously, Ander Herrera left the club. Obviously, we do know Marine Fellaini left the club back in January. And don't forget, we can still negotiate the sale of players until the 2nd of September. So I think now, Solskjaer's confirmed that Man United are willing to pay the majority of his substantial wages, to get Alexis Sanchez out of the football club. And he's, 30 years of age now, is Sanchez. He doesn't really have a future at the club. And obviously, I think it did also mention that Sanchez had had some kind of a bust-up with Mason Greenwood. I think at the training ground, he had a bust-up with Mason Greenwood. But I think, anyway, Sanchez is going to find it very, very difficult, to get first-team football week in, week out. I did say if he was to stay this season, he probably, would have been given the chance. But obviously, you've got the likes of Greenwood, Daniel James and that, Greenwood, Daniel James, Martial, Rashford and Chon and that, Sanchez is going to find it really, really difficult, to get him in that mix. So he's below on his current fitness, but he has been training, because he did confirm the other week that Sanchez, had returned back to training. But I think, we need to basically, get rid of the player. And obviously, Roma, I think they're the only team in for him now. Obviously, Sanchez played in Italy, when he was younger, with Underneath, was it? When he was a lot younger, that is. But I think, Manchester United do need to to get rid of him, because let's be honest, he has been a huge disappointment. We do know he's very versatile, is Sanchez. You can put him in several other positions and that. I think the majority of his goals when he was at Arsenal, came centrally, but when we've mainly played Sanchez, we've actually put him on the left hand side. So yeah, I think it would be beneficial if the club can definitely offload the player. And obviously a player that's the highest paid player at the club was on potentially 400 grand a week. Needs to be more involved in that. But I think if he just isn't playing and he's obviously become injury prone since he's become a Manchester United player, I think basically we need to get rid of the player, because I did say anywhere that his wages are having a really bad effect on the football club. So reportedly he will be forced to train with the under 23 reserves. Solsjaker will make him do this to get him out of the football club. So that is the latest news about Alexis Sanchez. But I can see the vast improvements in Manchester United. I definitely can see the vast improvements, and there's still key areas where we definitely are lacking. Obviously the board did assure that there was going to be backing Ole Gunnar Solsjaker throughout the course of the summer transfer window. Obviously this has only been Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first summer as Manchester United manager, but I think the board have come to terms that they didn't back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer enough. So I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is set to be backed in the January transfer window. I think he's also set to be backed next summer, and I think the board have assured basically that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will not be sacked as Manchester United manager this season, regardless of what happens, because the board know that they didn't back him enough throughout the course of the summer. But Solskjaer did basically say that he is delighted over our summer transfer business, because obviously we've recommended 3 good players to the club. Obviously we spent £148 million throughout the course of the summer. We've got Daniel James in, we've got Wan-Bissaka in, and of course we've got Harry Maguire, and we're seeing glimpses of how good they've been so far this season. Harry Maguire did well on his debut against Chelsea. Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka were phenomenal on their Premier League debuts against Chelsea, and them two also did well throughout pre-season. But I think we've had a great start to the season. I think the young upcoming players were a fruition throughout pre-season. I think they're going to actually be a fruition this season. We have got quite a few upcoming players. We've got quite a few fringe players. We've got quite a lot of experienced players, and I do believe the majority of them will get given their chances this season. But I think the likes of Mason Greenwood, he's been fantastic so far. Mason Greenwood, did well throughout pre-season. I thought he looked very, very good, when he came on against Chelsea. And he's only 17 years of age, so still got a hell of a lot of development in him. And Solskjaer explained the reason why we didn't recruit a replacement for Lukaku. Well, maybe we don't need a replacement for Lukaku, because we do look much better now in that attacking third in the pitch, because we have now got that pace in that attacking third, and that's something we lacked last season. We didn't really have that pace last season. This is the main factor reason why we didn't score enough goals last season. This is why I wasn't ruthless enough in front of a goal. But I think we have now got that pace up front. You've got Daniel James with electrifying pace. Daniel James, don't get me wrong, he's still a prospect and he needs time to develop. There's still improvements needed in his game. You've got Martial and Rashford with fantastic pace. Like I said, Martial has been giving her that number 9 shot, and I think with Martial, he'll play more central this season, because Martial, seems to be more effective in that central position. That's where you mainly see the best out of him, and that got indicated out, throughout the course of a free season. Sometimes Rashford can play centrally as well. I think Rashford will play centrally, quite a few times this season. But Rashford and Martial are doing very, very well. They're both developing and they're flourishing at Manchester United. They haven't quite emulated that level as yet, but I think they are getting to that level at Martial and Rashford. You've got Rashford, who's only 21. You've got Martial, who's of course only 23. Martial's obviously, been at the club just over 4 years now. It's over 4 years, I think he's been at Manchester United. Obviously, we got him from Monaco, was it back in 2015? I think we potentially got him for around £36 million, potentially rising up to 57 million, I think, based on goals and achievements. But Martial, has been a very, very good player for Manchester United. So too was Rashford, and I know there was inconsistent in the last couple of months of last season and that, but I did still say Martial and Rashford are still long-term solutions for Manchester United. And don't get me wrong, I think Rashford, sustained quite a few injuries last season. That may have had a bad effect on his current game. But with Martial, it was good that he signed a 5-year deal back in January, and he's on a substantial amount now. So he was a 5-year deal that Martial had signed. Obviously, he did well in his debut season, though, Martial, when he was a lot younger. He scored 17 goals, I think, in his debut season. So he did well under Louis van Gaal Moreira. Obviously, Martial had scored on his debut against Liverpool in our 3-1 victory in that. But yeah, Martial is definitely, you know, a very, very imperative player for Manchester United. With Rashford, you know, I like Rashford a lot. You know, obviously he's been a United player, you know, since the age of 7. Obviously progressing up the ranks in that. Obviously, you know, he's been in our senior squad, you know, since 2016 as Marcus Rashford, and you know, he's been absolutely phenomenal for the club. Obviously, I think Rashford, you know, scored in his debut, you know, Manchester United debut against Midtjylland in the Europa League. I think he scored twice in that game, and he also scored in his Premier League debut against Arsenal. This was back in March 2016. I think he scored on his Premier League debut against Arsenal. I think he scored twice on his Premier League debut against Arsenal. I think he also scored in his first Manchester derby against Manchester City, did Sanchez. I think he also scored, did Rashford, sorry. I think Rashford also scored on his debut, was it? It was in the League Cup. He scored in his debut as well. I think he also scored in his international debut for England. Didn't he also score in his... Yeah, so very, very good player, is Marcus Rashford. And, you know, I can already see the improvements in the Manchester United squad. You know, we've also got Chon that's upcoming, don't forget. You know, Chon will definitely, you know, get given his chances this season. But I've still got, you know, concerns, elements in that midfield. I've got a lot of concerns in that midfield, because I know that we've got Paul Pogba now, and, you know, he actually, you know, could be remaining at the football club, you know, could Paul Pogba. But hopefully, if Paul Pogba is to stay at the football club, hopefully we can avoid, you know, him getting injured this season, because you know, we've not really got many backup, you know, in that midfield, and it does. I've got strong reservations now about that midfield, and it's a shame that, you know, we didn't recommend a midfielder, you know, throughout the course of the summer transfer window. But I do believe, you know, the players we was in for throughout the course of the summer, we will probably revive our interest in them in January. So we'll probably go back in for Bruno Fernandes in January. We may go back in for Christian Eriksen. You know, we may go back in, you know, for Paulo Dybala and that. So I do believe we need at least one midfielder. We may even need 2 midfielders. Obviously, you know, we're looking for a replacement for Mariam Fellaini and Ander Herrera, who of course both left the football club and that. But I'm very disappointed that we didn't get Bruno Fernandes, because I would have been excited about the prospect of, you know, Bruno Fernandes, you know, playing alongside Paul Pogba in our midfield. But don't get me wrong, you know, when Paul Pogba's at his best, you know, he's like 2 players in one. When he's at his best, and you know, and we have seen him at his best at Manchester United. He's one of the best midfielders in the world, you know, when he's at his best, Paul Pogba. But I just don't think our midfield is good enough at the moment. I know we've got the likes of McTominay, Pereira and Fred, and I think, you know, McTominay did really, really well throughout pre-season. You know what, I think he's going to have a better season this season is McTominay. You know, I think Pereira should have a better season. I think, you know, Fred should have a better season this season. But them three, that trio, you know, I still don't know, you know, if they've got all the attributes to succeed at Manchester United. You know, I don't know if they have the long-term solutions for Manchester United and that. I just don't know if they are. So I am very, very sceptical about them. My overarching view on Fred, I don't think Fred has performed to the same sort of level, you know, as he did do, you know, at Shakhtar Donetsk. Because I'll credit Fred, you know, because he was actually, you know, a very, very exceptional player for Shakhtar Donetsk, but hasn't really replicated this at Manchester United. And I know Fred did well towards the back end of last season. Obviously, you know, he did well throughout pre-season. Let's be honest, I'll credit Fred, you know, he never really got the opportunity under Jose Mourinho. Obviously, you know, we paid just under £50 million for Fred. Maybe we did overpay for him a little bit, and obviously he's in that list of our one of our most expensive signings is Fred. But, you know, there's room for improvement in his game. And, you know, to be quite honest with you, I think the likes of McTominay, Fred and Pereira, you know, they're much better solutions than Nemanja Matic, because I think they're more mobile and better on the ball than Matic. You know, with Matic, he's too slow, too inconsistent. Every time he plays in that midfield, you know, the midfielder looks totally imbalanced. Every time he plays in that midfield, and he's not getting any younger. You know, he's currently a major. People do talk about saying that he's highly experienced. You know, he's won Premier League titles and that with Chelsea, but I just don't think he's good enough to represent Manchester United. And these players here now that are no longer good enough to represent Manchester United. And obviously, there's still quite a few long-serving players here that have been long-serving players at the football club. Obviously, we've had long-serving players at the club that have obviously, you know, currently left. But there is good players now here that are no longer, you know, good enough to represent Manchester United and that. And I think we do need to sell, you know, more players. We definitely need to sell more players, because these, you know, problematic players at the football club. But like I did say, reflecting back what I said earlier on, I'm disappointed that we didn't get a midfielder in, because obviously it was Solskjaer's priority, you know, of course, you know, to recommend a midfielder in. You know, went in for a few players on deadline day. But, you know, like I said, I'm happy that we got that experienced centre half in. I'm also happy, of course, that we did get that right back in. But I did did say, further more investment is needed in the squad. But I did say anyway, it was going to be hard for us, to address all the problematic areas in one window as well. I had a feeling, wouldn't address all the problematic areas in one window. But I did say, certain players, at a certain calibre and level, would have had reservations about coming to Manchester United, obviously, because, we're not in a Champions League football for this season. But I do believe, this season anyway, we're going to have a much better season this season. My overarching view on a successful season this season for Manchester United is probably, finishing in the top four and maybe, winning some silverware. And I think, we probably will finish in the top four this season. We should maybe, try and win the Europa League. Obviously, we did win the Europa League a couple of years ago under the Jose Mourinho era. But, a club of this dimension and the history of this club, basically, we should be, at least getting the top four, with the squad we've got and obviously, winning the Europa League at least. And obviously, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's expectations anyway, will be to finish in that top four. And obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got to exceed these expectations. Obviously, I did say, we have got big ambitions for the future. Obviously, want to get back to winning silverware. Obviously, this is something that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to bring back to the football club, and obviously wants to bring the correct philosophy back to Manchester United. And obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's following Alex Ferguson's philosophy, and also, wants to bring that winning mentality, of course, back to the football club and that. But it's good that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to be staying at Manchester United at least for this season. Whatever the outcome is, basically. Whatever the outcome is, basically, I think Solskjaer is safe at Manchester United for this season. But I think Solskjaer is the right man to take Manchester United forward. Don't get me wrong. He has got a bit of experience as a manager. Because he did well when he was the interim manager of the club in his first 3 months. Don't forget. He also won a couple of Norwegian titles there with Mould. So he provided a good achievement in that aspect. Also, only had a short tenure with Cardiff, but didn't really work out for Solskjaer at Cardiff. But Solskjaer's at a club, traditions of the club, he knows the club inside out. Obviously, one of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's most iconic moments as a player, obviously, was back in 1999. Obviously, when we won the treble, that's obviously one of the club's greatest achievements in that. I didn't actually say our aspiration is going to be that top four in the next couple of seasons, but I do believe if we can get further investment in January, maybe if we can do further more investment next summer, I think we can definitely win the Premier League next season. I think we can definitely win the Premier League next season. But analysing our squad as it stands, I think it is definitely good enough for the top four finish. But I don't think it's good enough yet, to currently win the league. But I can see the improvements in the squad. We don't only look better attackively. We look much better defensively. We do look a lot better defensively now. Obviously, we've got that experienced centre half in, through Harry Maguire. And Harry Maguire, like I said, was fantastic on his Premier League debut for Manchester United against Chelsea. And I think Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof, are going to blend in our backline, fantastic well, because you saw that against Chelsea. They do complement each other really, really well. Lindelof, these question marks around him, can he keep the consistency up? And I'm confident that Lindelof, can continue the consistency up, because Lindelof was good throughout pre-season. He was also good against Chelsea on the opening day of the Premier League season. He also did well in his second season with the club, did Victor Lindelof. So there has been vast improvements in his game. Will Lindelof in his first season didn't really settle in, struggled for consistency. But I thought, Victor Lindelof, in his second season, there was vast improvements in him. So I do believe, he is flourishing at Manchester United. But obviously, Harry Maguire is the best option, what we've got in our backline at this present time, and that he's the best current option. And obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first choice, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's preference is going to be obviously, Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof. They're obviously going to be his first choice centre-back partnerships this season, so it's going to be hard for the likes of Smalling and Jones, to get there in the mix. Maybe in the cup games, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, may rotate a little bit, but in the league games, it will be Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof, which will be his first choice centre-back partnership. But I think my opinions on Smalling and Jones, they've been 2 long-serving players at the club, and, like I said, they're no longer good enough to represent Manchester United, because they are basically, too inconsistent now, plus they're aging up. Obviously, it was bad business for Manchester United, giving them 2 new long-term contracts there last season. But I do believe now, with the, obviously, when it confirmed the arrival of Harry Maguire, I think it did say we are orchestrating on selling at least 1 central defender, because we've got about 7 central defenders now. We've got Harry Maguire, we've got Victor Lindelof, we've got Eric Bailly, we've got Rojo, we've got Smalling, we've got Jones, we've got Alex Tuanzebe. So we have got a lot of central defenders in that, but I think we do need to offload one. Obviously, I don't think it'll be Smalling and Jones that get offloaded, even though we turned a loan bid down from Everton for Chris Smalling. Obviously, it could be Rojo. I think Rojo, he's probably on his way out of the football club. Obviously, Everton had been in for Rojo, I think, on deadline day. Obviously, we put around the £25 million valuation on Marcus Rojo. Obviously, Rojo can still be sold to a European club, don't forget. But he's one of the problematic players at Manchester United. And I thought, to be fair to Rojo, he did well, throughout pre-season and that. But I think his Manchester United career has been mainly affected, with the amount of injuries he has sustained. Obviously, Rojo's just got under 2 years remaining on his Manchester United contract and that. But I think we need to get rid of him. But he did say we'll put a £25 million valuation on him. I think he's made about 72 or 73 appearances for us in the Premier League, since his arrival from Sporting Lisbon, was it back in 2014 or 2015. So I think we definitely need to get rid of him. I think we also need to get rid of Matteo Darmian. He's one of the problematic players at the football club that does need to be sold. I haven't been reading up about Matteo Darmian recently, but Dad. Oh, is it? Yes, I think Darmian needs to be offloaded by the club and all that. And I think if he does leave, I think he'll probably make a return back. What? Alright. I think he'll make a return back to Italy and all that if he does leave the football club, Matteo Darmian. But he hasn't really been given a chance as a Manchester United player, really. So looking at it, we could generate maybe around £30 or £35 million for their departure. So I think we need to work on, offloading Darmian and Rojo. My overarching view on Alex Tuanzebe, I think he'll get given his chances this season. I think we're going to keep him for now at least, obviously, following a serious knee injury that Eric Bailly had sustained. Obviously, Eric Bailly is out for up to 5 months with a knee injury, so basically he's out till Christmas is Eric Bailly. And I know how much of an imperative player that Eric Bailly is, and he's got a great potential, but like I said, I think his Manchester United career has been mainly affected with the amount of injuries he has sustained. Obviously, Eric Bailly has been at the club now over 3 years, but we do look much better defensively, and we're not going to leak as many goals as we did last season, because last season we conceded 54 goals in 38 Premier League games, and that was actually our highest total, of course, in 48 years. But I think Lindelof and Harry Maguire, can emulate into like a Vidic and Ferdinand, because Vidic and Ferdinand, they were a fantastic centre-back partnership, back under the Alex Ferguson, Moreira and that. But I'm glad we've addressed our defensive deficiencies. But Harry Maguire, we paid £80 million for him. Obviously, he's our second most expensive signing. He's also the most expensive defender in the world, and maybe we did overpay for Harry Maguire, but I think it was good business on the club, getting him in and that. So maybe we did overpay for him, but I think his distributions, he shows the ability to part from the back. He's also very, very good in the air, highly experienced as well. So I think he's going to definitely he's got all the ingredients required, to become a huge success at Manchester United as Harry Maguire. But I've been very, very impressed with him, and it was a very, very good result, against Chelsea. We beat them comfortably, by 4 goals to 0. Very, very good performance of Manchester United. It wasn't so good in the first half. Chelsea were on top in the first 15-20 minutes and that. But I thought as soon as we got the penalty, as soon as we went 1-0 up, I thought, we took control of the game. Chelsea weren't even in that game in the second half. But to be quite honest with you, didn't Chelsea create more chances than us? We didn't really create a lot of chances. I think we only created around, 5 or 6 chances. But it was good to see in that game Daniel James coming off the bench, scoring on his debut, which was good. It was good to see Rashford get 2 goals. It was good to see, Martial get his name on the score sheet. It was also good to see Paul Pogba, provide 2 assists. Also, Andres Pereira, of course, got an assist. And I knew we'd beat Chelsea. I had a feeling, but I just didn't think we'd beat them by such a high deficit. I didn't think we'd beat them 4-0. I think the last time we beat Chelsea 4-0, prior to the game on Sunday, I think it was back in the 1994 FA Cup final, so obviously it replicates, the 1994 FA Cup final, of course, when we did beat Chelsea, by 4 goals to 0. It was we've had a very, very good start to the season. The Wolves game is going to be a tough game because Wolves are a pretty good team. Wolves did quite well last season, don't forget, they finished 7th, and Nuno Santos done quite a good job. Wolves have, invested well in that. Wolves didn't win their first game. I think they drew 0-0 with Leicester. Molineux is always a difficult place to go, as he got proven last season, because we lost at Molineux twice. We lost in the FA Cup, and of course we did lose in the league. But we are going to have a much better season this season, because last season was a huge disappointment. We finished 6th. Obviously, we didn't win any silver. Obviously, we failed to qualify for the Champions League. We've actually failed to qualify for the Champions League. three times, I think, out of like what the last 6 seasons, since Alex Ferguson's retirement and that. But yeah, I think, Wan-Bissaka's going to succeed at Manchester United and all that. I think Harry Maguire's going to succeed. I think Daniel James is going to succeed. So they have proven, to be very, very good signings for Manchester United. My opinions on Paul Pogba, as I think I updated you, I've been updating you quite regularly about Paul Pogba. Obviously, I think Paul Pogba says there's still a question mark that remains regarding his Manchester United future, which means obviously he's still uncertain about his future. Paul Pogba's actually indicated out that he could still leave Manchester United this summer. But obviously we do know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer knows how much of an imperative player that Paul Pogba is. Obviously we do know since he rejoined Manchester United in 2016 from Juventus, he has been, largely inconsistent. But I think Paul Pogba's had a great start to the season. I also thought, he did well throughout pre-season and that. But I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is doing everything he can, to try and convince Paul Pogba, to remain at the football club. And we do know for the entirety of the summer, basically, that Paul Pogba's been heavily linked with move to Real Madrid. And I think his first choice preference has been Real Madrid, and his likely destination has been Real Madrid. There's also been reports emerging out, saying that, he could make a return back to Turin, because don't forget, Paul Pogba had 4 good years in Turin, hasn't really replicated this, since he rejoined Manchester United and that. But I think if he was to leave the football club, he probably would end up, making the move to Real Madrid. Obviously, Real Madrid, if their window's still open, don't forget, all the European clubs' windows are still open until the 2nd of September. But Real Madrid have spent £300 million this summer on 5 players, or is it just over £300 million, they have currently spent. I think they've generated some of that money back of Real Madrid, because I think they've offloaded quite a few players. I think they've, generated around £100 million. But we're very, very adamant, basically, that Paul Pogba's not for sale, so we're reluctant to offload him. I think we quoted out how much we would want if we was forced to offload Paul Pogba. I think it did say, want around £180 million. So I did say throughout the course of summer, based on the extortionate amount we've put on Paul Pogba, I said that's been the stumbling block of Paul Pogba, supposedly, leaving Manchester United. So £180 million we want. So that's obviously more than double than what we initially paid for Paul Pogba, back in 2016, because we paid £89 million. But obviously he's our most expensive signing, is Paul Pogba. Don't forget he's still got 2 years left in his contract with Manchester United, with an option to extend it by a further year. I think he has been considered for the captaincy quite a few times this season in a bid to convince him to remain at the football club. He did say if Ashley Young is absent and that, Sanchez, Pogba, could get his opportunity, to get given the captaincy. But Solskjaer has been speaking a lot about Paul Pogba. I think he spoke to Paul Pogba, throughout the course of pre-season. I think he's spoken to the vast majority of our players this summer, as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But I think Solskjaer's praised Paul Pogba and that, and I've deep down Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, does know how much imperative player he is. And obviously, when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer managed the Manchester United reserve team, he watched some of this team this day and age go and develop. And of course, one of them was Paul Pogba. And obviously, initially Solskjaer built a great relationship up with Paul Pogba. But Paul Pogba's agent, Mini Raiola, for the entirety of this summer basically has been, working on, trying to find Paul Pogba a new football club, because I think his agent is aware that he wants to leave. I think at the start of pre-season, Paul Pogba's agent, Mini Raiola, came out and said that Paul Pogba is in the process of leaving the club and that. But obviously he confirmed a couple of months ago, was it back in June? I think it was actually. It was back in June. Paul Pogba confirmed that he's seeking for a new challenge. Obviously, he publicly admitted that he wants to leave Manchester United, and of course he was orchestrating on, putting a transfer request in, and he, at one point was even willing to go on strike. But I think, we do want to desperately, keep Paul Pogba at the football club. Obviously, Paul Pogba's on, £290 a week, so he's not only the most expensive signing, he's one of the highest paid players at the football club. I think, was it the majority of the team last season, or was it all the team last season that got their wages cut by around 25%, due to our failure, to qualify for the Champions League. But yeah, I think if Paul Pogba does leave, he'll end up making the move to Real Madrid. That's obviously, in my opinion. But Paul Pogba's stats, were very, very impressive last season. He scored 16 goals and provided 11 assists in 47 games in all competitions for the football club, and that did Paul Pogba. There was initially Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's plans anyway, to build a side around Paul Pogba and that. And but yeah, still a very, very imperative player in that. And still, only 26 years of age is Paul Pogba, still in his prime, still got a lot of years ahead of him and that. And yeah, still got a lot of years in ahead of him. But I think Paul probably has got that pass. You can say basically, Martial's got got that speed. You can say Rashford's got them runs, because Rashford, is good at getting them runs behind. But Paul Pogba is very very imperative indeed. And he's like I said, he's like two players in one. When he's playing to his to his best, is Sanchez, as Pogba, sorry. But actually, Pogba last season, was subjected to a lot of transfer speculation, due to his poor relationship with Jose Mourinho. There was talks of Pogba going to Juventus last year. There was also talks about him, going to Barcelona back in January. But obviously, Paul Pogba, had a bad relationship with Jose Mourinho, and I think Paul Pogba got one of his best wishes, of course, when Jose Mourinho, of course, departed the football club. But like I said, Pogba's future, currently, still remains uncertain. But hopefully, we can convince him to remain at the football club and all that. But yeah, so I do believe Manchester United do need to get rid of more players. I know I did say we've spent a hell of a lot of money. At least a hell of a lot of money's been spent in the football club over the last 5 or 6 years, and that. Obviously we can afford it because we're a massive club. We've got massive revenues. We've also got players on big contracts and that. But yeah, I'm very very happy the way this season has definitely currently started and that. Obviously we can't sack Ole Gunnar Solsjaker anyway because we love him a lot, and obviously we haven't got the structure to keep sacking managers, because obviously we've already sacked 3 managers since Alex Ferguson's retirement, and I've already explained the reason why it didn't work out under the other managerial eras and that. But I did say, regardless to our managers, we're never going to be the team that was under Alex Ferguson. We're never going to achieve what we achieved under Alex Ferguson. No one's going to ever follow Alex Ferguson's legacy, and that's obviously something that we've got to accept. But I've worked it out. We've spent £968 million in the last 6 years since Alex Ferguson's retirement and that is a hell of a lot of money. That's basically just under £1 billion, that we've basically spent on the football club over the last 6 years. If you want to take into account what we spent under the Alex Ferguson era as well included, obviously we've spent way over £1 billion, and I've been frustrated with the lack of silverware as well in the last 6 years. We haven't really won much. We didn't win out under the David Moyes era. Won the FA Cup under Louis van Gaal era, that was back in 2016, and we also won the Europa League and League Cup under the Jose Mourinho era. Obviously that came in Jose Mourinho's first season, but didn't work out under their managerial eras. It didn't work out under Moyes because Moyes didn't have the stature to get us in that commanding position, was never proven of winning any trophies out. Obviously he only had a short tenure with Manchester United, did David Moyes. Obviously it didn't work out under Louis van Gaal because he didn't have the correct philosophy in that, but he brought a lot of their players to the football club. We're still here now, of course. Obviously under Mourinho it didn't work out, even though Mourinho was regarded as one of the best managers in the world. Obviously he had that proven pedigree, and that didn't work out under Mourinho because he had bad disputes with the board. He had bad disputes with the players. Obviously there was no real winning philosophy. There was no sort of a transfer strategy in that, and he didn't get the signs that he wanted to recommend in last summer. So this is why it didn't work out under Jose Mourinho, and we spent a substantial amount under Mourinho. We just spent just under £400 million under Jose Mourinho on 11 players and that. And obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still inheriting all of these players. Don't forget, the majority of this squad is not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. Don't forget there's only 3 players there that are his, and that's obviously Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka, and of course Harry Maguire and that. But like I said, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can get us back to being a competitive elite level football club and that. But there's nothing much really more to say. And we do also know throughout the course of the summer, basically, we was in search of a right winner. But I'd said I was very sceptical about Manchester United being a right winning ring. But yeah, that's mainly everything to update today, guys. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribing as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.